Hey everybody, this is our Monday night training call that I'm going to record, so it won't be live like usual, but I want to thank you for joining me. I'm really excited about some things that I've been learning and passing it on to you, and of course we're just going to do it in small little increments so we don't overwhelm everybody. Took a little break for a few weeks. I know we haven't been doing the training calls, but just took a break and regathered my thoughts. And of course, there's so much that you learn and you want to pass on. And so anyhow, getting into tonight, something that I've taught to some of you individually is about the millennials and how much I'd really like to reach out more to the millennials because I think they would be an amazing asset to our teams. And so I have some tips that I'm going to share with you. And the tips came from my little Networking Times magazine. And by the way, if you do not subscribe to this, this is really, really an amazing magazine. I love it. It's a bi-monthly publication, and it has so many great tips and also just articles in helping to build belief in the industry. So if you're new, this is really a great investment to have. Now, millennials, you know, you hear that a lot. You hear that they're the generation that is lazy. A lot of times that's what they're called, or they're just, you know, they just don't seem like they're tuned into what's going on. And I really, the last while, have really stopped and wanted to know how can I reach them, because there's a lot of millennials that are looking for opportunities, and they're looking, but I think we miss them. You know, I'm not a baby boomer, but I do have millennial kids, so I know some of these things really made me stop and think for a minute, you know, like, how do I relate to them? So I'm going to be sharing some tips from the article Out with the Old and In with the New. And Carrie Dickey at her talk, 2016 talk, ANP International Convention, she says, bait the hook to suit the fish. And I think that is just a very good thing to think about. You know, bait the hook to suit the fish. You know, who are you fishing for? The old way of network marketing involved hotel meetings with boring slideshows or home parties that only a couple of people attended. And so, you know, each generation has different values. And, you know, you want to tailor your message today to, you know, your group of people that you want it to resonate with them, with their core values. Now, back in the day, it made sense. And even for me, I tend to think that way. I tend to think, well, you know, the meetings, having meetings at, you know, at a restaurant or something like that, that's my way of thinking. That's the way I grew up. That's the old way. Home parties, you know, that's the old way. That's the way I think. But the millennials are not thinking in those terms. They are not looking for that. That's boring to them. You know, it would just kill them to have to go pack up and go. And I know, you know, if you're a millennial listening to this, you totally understand what I'm talking about. You know, that way of thinking, as far as doing the meetings, hotel meetings, and the slideshows, is great if you're a baby boomer. That the values of a baby boomer are tradition and security, so that makes sense. And like I said, even though I'm not a baby boomer, I can totally understand that. I'm in that generation right after the baby boomers, where, you know, that's just things that were passed on to us. And of course, technology wasn't where it is today when I was younger. So using the Zooms and the Google Hangouts, things like that, that's totally new for me. And I've had to shift my thinking on this. But it's been great. The more I learn about it and the more I understand it, the more it makes sense to me, the more I'm, you know, easing into that. And, you know, there's a book that I've read, and I recommend it to people, Who Moved My Cheese? And it's really something I've had to learn, to follow the cheese, follow the movement, how it's changing. So presentations that are too long, filled with too much information and always too much hype, really turn a millennial off. So, you know, this is why you'll see a lot of like social media videos. They're only, you know, maybe 1 to 2 minutes long, at max 3 minutes. You know, they're quick, they're informative, they're fun, they're, you know, they boom, 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 boom. And that's really the way you have to market to a millennial. You've got to start thinking as a millennial. The Generation Y, which is also the millennials, refers to people born between 1980 and 2000. They are one of the largest demographic cohorts since the baby boomers, at over 80 million strong. So that is really a big number, and that means there's a lot of them looking for opportunity. They do not buy into the baby boomers' philosophy of go to college, get a job, work for 40 years, and then retire. They're really not doing that. They don't care about material success. Instead, they value freedom and possess an entrepreneurial spirit. Now, this is the one thing that I really have noticed, and I read an article several months back, might even be a year ago, that talked about you know, there are millennials who are willing to take less pay. You know, to them, they don't care if they're making $100,000 a year. They would rather make $40,000 to $50,000 a year and live off of that so that they can have time freedom. So in other words, they're looking to be their own boss, but they don't feel like they need to make this crazy amount of money to survive. They just want to make enough that they can make a living, live comfortably, and but have the time freedom that they want. So, you know, being an entrepreneur a lot of times is really appealing to them because of that. They don't care if they don't have the mansion. They want the time freedom. So that's another reason why, you know, we have a great opportunity. And so we should definitely be sharing to millennials and trying to reach them. Even if the millennials go to college and get a job, they want to quit within a few years and become their own boss. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're talking to someone who is in the millennial group. You know, they might be in college and they may be working towards a degree, but in the back of their mind, they may be thinking, you know, I do want to do something on my own. I don't. These are things that I think are just really great for us to know as we're marketing and prospecting millennials. Millennials are highly tech savvy and embrace new social platforms. Hello, I think we probably already know that one, right? I know the millennials that I think of that would be great in this business, they are on social media. They are working the social media like crazy. And I'm just trying to keep up. But the more I learn and the more I adjust my thinking and the way I look at social media, the more I understand why they use it. And they are smart. They are smart cookies, man. I mean, they know how to make the most out of the least amount of video time, and you know, they can pack a powerful message in that little time frame, and they're brilliant. They usually have created a strong presence and following on social media. Therefore, that is how they will market. And it's true. I know I have looked at some of my younger friends on Facebook, and I have gone and looked, and they've got this, you know, like 2,000-3,000 people following them, you know, or friends that are keeping up with them. And that's huge. That's huge. And, you know, to have them as a part of our team is really amazing, you know, because one, they can teach us a lot of the things that they're doing, but two, if you're reaching out to a millennial, they have a wide network base that's already been established. So this is going to be great for their business. They're going to take off with their business because they have such a huge network already. If you're trying to market to millennials, keep it real, okay? I think this is really, really important. I'll share some more tips, some other things that I have read, but this is really key. If you are trying to market to millennials, keep it real. Leave out the hype and market on their social media platforms, okay? I mean, that, I'm just gonna repeat that because it's really important. If you are trying to market to millennials, keep it real, leave out the hype, and market on their social media platforms. That means get yourself onto Instagram, Snapchat, which by the way, I've been learning to use. You know, obviously most of you are probably on Facebook already, but learn what is the most common ways that where they're at and what they're doing, because that way you can reach this market. I mean, there's a lot of millennials out there and they are looking. Millennials are not lazy. I know we've all heard that, and I've been guilty of saying it, that they're lazy and, you know, they feel that they're entitled to things, and that's really not true. They're misunderstood. They're misunderstood, and you know the saying, you don't know what you don't know. And I realized that I was wrong. I just didn't understand them. And so if you're a millennial listening to this, I'm sorry, I did not understand you. Millennials are not lazy. They are just efficient and have found an app or a platform that makes marketing easier than traditional belly-to-belly interaction. A good example would be Zoom, Google Hangouts, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram. These are great ways that a lot of Periscope is another one of how they interact with people. And they are, they're just more efficient. They're a lot more efficient. And I'm learning myself that the more that I lean towards learning, stopping and learning, taking the time to learn these new apps, to learn how they work, it really does free up time. And, you know, it's really a great thing that we can do a meeting on a Zoom and everyone can be in different states and we can all see each other. We can talk to each other. We can put, you know, faces to the names and so on. And technology allows us to do that. So this is really, really a great time. And it's really worth learning these media platforms. Okay, most millennials are not brand loyal, so teaching them and empowering them to be the brand actually makes them loyal to you and consequently to the company. Okay, and I found that too. You know, I'm fiercely loyal. I will, you know, if I use something and I like it, I will stick with it until, you know, something really bad happens and then I'll change. But I am that type of person. Millennials, I've noticed they definitely are not brand loyal. They'll jump from, you know, one thing to the other, and I've watched that with my own kids who are in that millennial age. So it really does pay to empower and teach them to be the brand yourself. You know, you've heard us say that in different trainings, but brand yourself. And to help them do that is going to make them loyal to you and to the company. What gets millennials excited is doing something that works and knowing they are part of something so much bigger than themselves. And you know, we've talked about that before. Everybody likes to belong to something. Everybody likes to belong to something bigger than themselves. And millennials are no different. They may act like they're introverted and don't want to socialize, but they actually do want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. So those are some things that, you know, I really encourage everyone to really think about how you can use the social media platforms to reach the millennials. I think they would be an amazing asset to anyone's team because, one, they have the knowledge of how the social media works. They're a lot more tech savvy. And also, you know, they're looking for opportunity. They're looking for ways to reach their goals without having to slave away at a 9-to-5 job for the next 40 years. They don't want that. They're not looking for that. They want something that is going to be a real opportunity, that they can be their own boss and that they can grow from there and reach their goals and dreams. So just wanted to share some of those tips, and I have some more I'm going to be sharing as I learn. I'm going to pass it on to you, and I really encourage you this week to take a look at Snapchat. And, you know, like I said, most of you, I think, are on Facebook, and maybe learn a little bit more about Facebook and how you can utilize that to reach more millennials, because maybe you guys are feeling like, you know, I've kind of worn through my warm market. You know, maybe you don't have a whole lot of Facebook friends and you're thinking, well, what else can I do? And you feel discouraged. Learn to use the social media platform to reach some of these millennials and other folks, and how you can do that. So the most popular ones right now is Snapchat, Instagram, Periscope. Periscope scares me. Facebook Live is enough for me. Periscope, I don't know. I've always had a fear of it. There's nothing to fear. It's just my whole thing is the whole wide world can see you. So not just your little group of friends, but everybody out there can see you. So these are some things to check into. You know, put your feet into it and see how it goes. I've personally just recently been working with the Snapchat. Love it. I love it. It's just a simple, fun, quick way to put things out there. So that's all that I've got, and hope that you guys got something out of that. And remember, those millennials, they're looking. They are looking. They may not be of the old traditional ways of thinking, but they are looking. So be sure to be aware of that and make sure you share what you've got, because you've got something really great in your hands. All right, well, we will see you all next Monday night, 7 o'clock. You guys have a good evening and a great week.